Hey everyone, welcome to The Fly-In, a podcast brought to you by the New Dems. Today is Thursday, June 26th. I'm Greg Landsman.
And I'm Marc Veasey.
Due to some scheduling issues early in the week, we're recording this as a fly-out episode, so we're going to cover the big news from this week, including, number one, the latest on this terrible budget bill. Number two, RFK Jr. came to the Hill, and we're going to have Tim Kennedy, who represents New York's 26th district. But before we get into the three big things this week, I want to address the big issue of the airstrikes against the Iranian enrichment facilities.
Yeah.
As you all know, over the weekend, the president ordered the United States to attack three key enrichment facilities within Iran. And it's important to recognize that American troops carried out this mission. We're glad everyone is safe, and it's a risky call either way. I would like to see the administration be way more bipartisan about this, be very transparent about the intelligence, build a coalition here, but also abroad,
Right.
to get peace done in Gaza and with Iran. And, hopefully we are in a position to see that kind of transformative work in the Middle East.
Yeah, and the part that you touched on about being transparent, because I'm with you. I want to have peace. I hope that this actually leads to something that will last and make more long-term stability in the Middle East, long-lasting. But man, he needs to be more forthcoming, and that really bothers me that there's this back and forth on the intelligence. That's not what the American people wanted. The people that said they voted for him, that's not what they expect or want. And they need to do better on that.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, there was a couple of things. One is the decision to strike these enrichment facilities. At the very least, you're supposed to brief Congress, not the entirety of Congress, but the key players,
Right.
the Gang of Eight, as they say. That's 4 Democrats, 4 leading Republicans. He did so with the Republicans, but not the Democrats. That's a huge problem because this cannot be a partisan issue. It has to be a bipartisan issue. And then the intelligence, they canceled a briefing, which is fine. I went and got my own briefing this morning. But they're now suggesting they're going to withhold intelligence. You can't do that with the Congress or the American people because trust is everything if you're asking people to participate in these kinds of events.
Right, and he should not have canceled the intelligence briefing. I mean, for members of Congress that don't sit on HASC and don't sit on Intel, those briefings are very important so they can go back and talk with their constituents and share what they can, right? Obviously, it's in the briefings, you can't share everything in there, but just for them to have like a greater understanding of exactly what's happening on the ground, particularly now with the White House just being so confusing. Even Trump has gone back and forth and said, no, they were great. Then he said, well, they were effective. No, they're great again. Like none of it is really making any sense. It's confusing. I think that he's really lost a great opportunity to sort of improve himself when it comes to foreign policy, where the American people recent polls have shown they don't really trust him in that area. And I think that he's really failed the country in many ways.
All right, so we're going to continue to obviously monitor this. This is where Congress has to step up and say, look, we're going to be the voice of reason and strategy and vision and tell you the truth about the intelligence and the path forward. All right, welcome, Congressman Tim Kennedy, the 26th Congressional District in New York. That's Buffalo, Niagara Falls. Welcome. Tell us about the district and yourself.
So I have an amazing district. My district is the 26th in New York. It's Buffalo, Niagara Falls, many suburban communities in between those two great cities, Buffalo being the second largest city in the state of New York. Niagara Falls, obviously, one of the great wonders of the world. And, I just not only was born and raised in the Western New York community, but my family goes back about 175 years.
Oh, wow.
So we have deep roots in the Western New York community, and it's really been a driving force in the work that I do.
In the 4 Super Bowl appearies.
Oh, that's messed up.
Cowboy.
No, I just
That's
Cowboy.
messed up.
how many of the Super Bowls?
Is it too late to leave?
Did you go to any of them?
I was not at any of them, but I used to usher. I was a ticket taker.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so, when I was coming up as a kid, I'd be at all the games, the home games anyways.
This is interesting. So you're an usher at the stadium. You go to, you've been to like 1,000 Bills games?
I did Bills, I did Sabres, I did all the concerts.
that's
Any
cool.
concert or game in Buffalo for at least a decade, I was able to see. Got paid for.
Favorite game, favorite
awesome
moment?
Job. Favorite game that I was at? Well, I mean, I was at so many different playoff games that we won. One game, one of the greatest games that we ever played at the stadium. I was too young to be working there, but it was the greatest comeback in NFL history against the Houston Oilers.
That's right.
Warren Moon and
Messed up the All-Texas Super Bowl.
Frank Reich. Oh yeah, but I'm aging
You were at that game.
myself.
I remember that.
I was not actually at the game. We had it, and it wasn't on TV. It was not a sellout. It was a wild card game in 1991.
Yeah.
It was on the radio. It was one of the greatest games ever of all time in NFL history. But Buffalo Sabres. I'm a season ticket holder, suffering season ticket holder. I was at the game that no goal was scored again. Another Dallas team. Dallas has really hurt me over the years.
Yeah.
But y'all do have the Leon Lett moment.
Yeah, that's about it.
Leon Lett.
But, we've taken it to Cincinnati. I'm pretty proud of that.
Buffalo? Sure.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, most teams have.
Let me ask you, because in the getting to know your segment, I told you I was going to ask you before we started. I told you, I said, damn man, I'm going to ask you some wild ass shit, okay? People don't know that much about Buffalo because it's almost in Canada.
Yeah.
So Buffalo is kind of a mystery to a lot of people, unless you're from New York.
Except for the 4 Super Bowl thing.
Except for the 4 Super Bowl thing. So I have a couple of very specific Buffalo questions for you. Did you ever have the opportunity to meet the late, great Rick James?
Wow, no. But you know what? I've been to his grave site many times.
Oh, wow.
He's buried at Forest Lawn
Yeah.
Cemetery in Buffalo, not too far from the late, great Shirley Chisholm.
All right, let's jump into 3 big things. Let's start with the budget. It's now in the Senate. It's going through the bird bath. What's your take in terms of the most important things that have transpired over the last week or two?
Well, I think the big thing is that the American public is moving against this bill, right? Like 60% of Fox News, so no one can say, no, it's the liberal media and Obama's trying to fix, like no one can say that, right? Like 60% of Fox News viewers, or the Fox News polls, they say that they're against it.
Yeah.
And that it's bad. People know that there's a lot of bad stuff in here that's going to compromise their health care and the safety of their families. And I think that is one of the really big things that have changed. And I think that's why they're having so much trouble actually moving this bill along through the Senate.
Yeah. Tim, what do you, as you're watching this, what are the big takeaways? I mean, what are the most important changes?
Well, it is an unmitigated disaster what the Republicans in Congress are putting forward. The Senate Republicans are taking this big, ugly bill and they're making it uglier, if that's even possible. They're making it worse. They're trying to cut Medicaid even further. They're trying to increase the debt even more. Yeah. And why? That's the question of the day. Why? To give billionaires a tax break?
Yeah.
It's really unconscionable. And the more people are realizing what's in this big, ugly bill, the more they're turned away from it, the more they're disenfranchised with the Republican majority, recognizing they don't stand for the values of hardworking families in this great country. And, we've been banging the drum and sounding the alarm, and it's clearly getting across because of what Mark just mentioned. The polling numbers are showing that this is an extraordinarily unpopular bill because people don't want to see their health care insurance ripped away. People don't want to see longer lines at the emergency rooms. They don't want to see their health care premiums go up and their deductibles go up and their copays go up when they go to visit the doctor or, they have to go to the emergency room. So it is really bad. They're trying to make it worse. We're fighting back against it. In many ways, we're successful because we're organizing and mobilizing the American people.
Let me ask you this, because I know enough about, other than Rick James, I know enough about Buffalo to know that it's a blue collar town. Y'all have a lot. Y'all have a great, rich blue collar history.
Yeah.
Are your blue collar constituents? Do they understand the impact that this could have on their families and their extended families, and how this could really impact them when you start talking about cuts to SNAP, cuts to Medicaid, different things like that? Or is it resonating with them? Because, to be quite honest, we know that that's an area where Democrats, we find ourselves, struggling with a lot of families that that came from places like where your family's migrated from Ireland, that we're starting to lose some of those Americans. And so is it starting to resonate with them that this could really hurt them and impact them?
Well, when people realize what's actually in this
Yeah.
bill, that the President of the United States is characterized as the big, beautiful bill,
Yeah.
they know that he's misleading them and lying to them, because when you're ripping away hundreds of billions of dollars in Medicaid,
Right.
hundreds of billions of dollars in nutritional assistance, hundreds of billions of dollars in Medicare,
Yeah.
taking people off of health insurance, taking away people's access to food,
Yeah.
taking away access to health care, rural hospitals, community health centers. Those communities that the Republicans represent are going to be hurt the most in many cases.
Yeah.
So it's really despicable what they're trying to force through to the American people.
Yeah. Yeah.
As of now, they don't have the votes, and we may come back next week. They're suggesting, because the president wants this thing done sooner rather than later, because it becomes harder and harder to pass the more people understand what's in this bill. But as you said, the Medicaid cuts have gotten worse. The deficit spending has gotten worse. The bird bath, which is the process in the Senate where the parliamentarian decides whether or not the language fits for reconciliation, meaning is it entirely about the budget or is it policy? And if it's policy, it gets yanked. So there are some things that have been yanked from this bill because of Democratic pressure and the parliamentarian. One, language to get rid of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that got yanked. Efforts to sell public lands, that got yanked. They tried to make the food assistance cuts even worse. That got denied. The most important, arguably, was the language that would have allowed the administration to ignore court rulings. That got yanked. So this will come back to the House, potentially worse in terms of the cuts to Medicaid and the deficit spending, but some of the really problematic policy language is out. But we still got to kill this bill, and there's still a chance we will.
Yeah.
Number two, it is Gun Violence Awareness Month, and we're going to talk about your bill, Tim, but we also have to talk about what happened in Minnesota. It was terrifying, and obviously your heart goes out to the people who lost loved ones and who are going to be grieving for a long time, if not for the rest of their lives. Things are going to have to change. We're demanding some big changes in terms of our own protection.
Yeah. And let me ask you, and if you don't feel comfortable talking about it,
Sure.
you can tell me and we can move on. You were on the gunman's list.
Yeah.
And for a lot of us, for a lot of people, I don't think they realize sometimes that our job impacts our families too, as well as our own, fear of our own personal safety. How was that when you first heard that you were on that list and you received the call? What happened, and how's your family doing after that? Because it had to be very horrendous for them to hear that news as well as you.
Thank you. Everyone's doing great. Everyone's fine. My son was with me. It was about 10:30 on Sunday morning. And so we sort of learned about this together, which was good in the sense that he heard everything, understood that our name appeared on this man's list. His first reaction was, well, Minnesota's really far away. And I said, buddy, it's only 10 hours. At which point he was like, oh, so he could be here. And it was sort of like, okay. And we locked in. The police were there very quickly. They walked the perimeter of the house every 20, 30 minutes. And ultimately, 12 hours later, the guy was caught. But it's unnerving. It's unnerving. And you can do one of two things. You can say, well, this is too much. And your family can say that. And if my family had said that, I would obviously say, okay, let's be done. Yeah. Or you can say, you got to do even more, meaning that you got to make every day count. And that's sort of where we landed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for what you're dealing with and your family is dealing with. Our hearts are breaking for the family of Speaker Emerita Hortman. and her husband Marc, who were murdered in cold blood, as well as Senator Hoffman and his wife. It's another day in America, and we are continuing to see this gun violence epidemic spill out every day. We can read anywhere across America. Buffalo is still grieving from the loss of 10 souls just 3 years ago last month, on May 14th, 2022, when a racist, white supremacist terrorist came to Buffalo, drove 200 plus miles to come to Buffalo, to the heart of the black community, to kill people because of the color of their skin. It was the underbelly of America rearing its ugly head. And our community came together after that like never before. And those 10 souls that were lost that day, one of the commitments that I made to their families was that their lives would not be lost in vain. And to the families of the victims' credit, who came here to Washington and testified before Congress with the families of the victims of the Uvalde, Texas massacre just 3 years ago, they changed the laws for the first time in 3 decades with the bipartisan Safer Communities Act. And while that was significant in that we were able as a country to come together and recognize that this scourge of gun violence is preventable through strong legislation, it was only a first step. And there's so much more that needs to be done. We have to do better, and we will do better. And we'll do better when we have the gavels in our hands.
This is a public safety and public health issue. And speaking of public health, RFK was on the Hill.
Yeah.
They put forward this budget to slash Health and Human Service funding, a $43 billion decrease. And you're talking about all of these things that are key to public health.
Yeah.
I was terribly frustrated, as I know you were.
Very. And I asked him a question about his background, because he admitted that he has gone through the 12-step program and that he had addiction issues.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Secretary. You've credited the 12 steps in your recovery. So can you tell this committee what is step 4?
It's making a fearless inventory.
Is making a fearless inventory of ourselves.
Yeah.
And you remember that one. And you remember step 12.
Yeah, it's having had a spiritual awakening, we try to help other alcoholics and addicts.
So tell me, Mr. Secretary, yes or no, does cutting off treatment for people still suffering align with step 4 and step 12?
And that wasn't anything that I took lightly. Let me just say that. Having had relatives that literally that I watched drink themselves to death and drug themselves to death, it wasn't anything that I took any sort of pleasure in at all. But I don't like when people, especially people that are from privilege, drag the ladder out from under other people. And that's what I asked him. And he ended up needing to take a break after I asked him that. And I'm glad that he did. And I hope that he kind of thought about it, because a lot of the things that he's doing, not just with people that have addiction issues, like he had, and like J.D. Vance's family had, like Trump's family had, like my family has had. It's not just that. There are so many other things, so many other diseases where these panels are being abolished that can help people and potentially find cures for infectious diseases and hereditary diseases. And he's setting our country back.
It is, again, a reminder that the wealthiest folks have taken over the government, and it's going to hurt the average American in ways that are going to be devastating, and we have to stand in the way and try to protect folks. In case you missed it, we're going to get into a game called Who Said It? So Tim will give you a quote from a lawmaker, and you have to guess whether or not it's from a Democrat or Republican. Quote number 1, "This bill is egregious. It will be And this is a fact, the greatest loss of health care in American history. It will add trillions of dollars to the deficit and debt, and in the end, who will benefit? The wealthiest 1% of Americans. Democrat or Republican?
Democrat, the
You know who it
great
was?
Brendan Boyle.
It
All
was-
right.
Oh my God.
Very
Remember the
good.
budget? He's talking budget.
Good job.
Yeah.
Brendan
All
Boyle.
You were paying attention.
Good
Okay,
man.
the next one. The deep Medicaid cuts in the bill could cost Republicans their majority next year. Democrat or Republican?
Definitely Republican, and I know exactly who that was.
Wow.
That was Speaker Mike Johnson.
Wow, look at
Who
you.
knows how bad the cuts that his own party is making to Medicaid and Medicare, threatening Social Security, all for tax breaks for billionaires. He knows what that's going to do, and he knows why it's why he's going to lose.
He sees it when he
The
goes back to his
majority.
district
That's
in Shreveport, Louisiana.
That's right.
Number 3, quote, this bill is immoral and grotesque.
That could have been anybody. But I'm going to give that to Marc Veasey and Greg Landsman and Tim Kennedy because it is. But
But it was also Ron Johnson,
that's
who was
right.
a Republican,
Republican, yeah.
senator from Wisconsin.
Okay, quote number 4. I'll try to do it in his voice, okay? I know a lot of you are...
Just do it. Just because you can't lead the witness. Yeah.
I know a lot of us are hearing from people back home about Medicaid, but they'll get over it.
That is an insane quote, by the way.
Yeah,
yeah,
very insane.
you know that was a Republican.
Yes.
And I would say it was a Republican in leadership.
Correct.
Take your pick.
Mitch McConnell.
Mr. McConnell.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Mitch
from
McConnell
Kentucky.
said...
Terrible.
Your next door neighbor. You
My
think
next
he's
door
terrible.
neighbor,
Yeah.
in a closed door meeting, Mitch McConnell. And number 5, this bill is a debt bomb ticking.
Yep, we know who that was.
Yeah.
That was a Republican,
Yep.
Yes.
Massey.
Unbelievable. And the last one?
And he said it on the House floor.
Yeah, that's right, with his little debt clock.
Yeah.
Okay, in cutting Medicaid, we don't eliminate the need for care, we just eliminate access to care. We force families to choose between medicine and groceries, we push patients into overcrowded ERs, and we risk lives.
That's a great quote.
That is. That's a
May
really
have
good quote.
said it very recently. Democrat, America's congressman.
Yeah.
It was me.
It was you. All right. Hey,
Sorry, I had to take my shot.
that was awesome. Thank you.
All right, no, thank you.
But don't forget, I have America's team.
All right, thank you all for joining us this week. Before we take off, I'm excited to announce that we are officially launching our Substack as the New Dem Dispatch. So subscribe to watch the podcast, learn more about our policy plans, read op-eds, articles from members. It's a good Substack. Also remember to follow us across all of the social media platforms and rate and review the show. We want to hear from you. We'll see you next time we fly in.
See you next time.